So here we are in the blue Buick. As you can see, I've disassembled quite a few things, namely the steering column. I actually lost the keys, so I had to remove the ignition tumbler and disable the locking steering so I could move the vehicle, since it's not running. But in the process, I managed to knock loose a rod so that I could not reassemble the steering column with the ignition tumbler and the ignition switch. This rod normally goes under all this blue covering and hooks up somewhere in here to this gear. I think I can see it. Yeah, right there. Now normally, if you turn the ignition, let's see if I can get a better hold here. If you turn the ignition, you can see there's some stuff in there that moves. Let me move this. But right under there, this black gear here is hooked up to the ignition tumbler, and this metal, I don't know how I'd describe it, but anyway, it's a slider of some kind. So when you turn the ignition forward or back, it moves that slider. Normally somehow that rod would be attached to the slider and then to the ignition switch, which is right here. Ignition switch is just a 3-position switch. Has a hole in the side where you place the rod, and when you turn the key it moves it forward or back. Spring loaded for the starting portion so you don't leave your starter engaged all the time. But anyway, so now I have to figure out a way to mount this thing. I'm thinking I'll put it up under the dash somewhere, maybe have a fake choke switch out here so you can just pull it to start the car instead of turning the key. So, looks like I have quite a bit of work ahead of me, especially since I have all my parts in kind of a random mess in my toolkit. But I better get started. Okay, so I got the steering column back in place. I just finished putting in the spring for the adjustments here. As you can see, it works great. Okay, so now I'm going to get back to putting this part on. I'm just going to leave, well, I think I will put an ignition tumbler in there, just for looks, I guess. And it'll turn and stuff, but it won't actually do anything, since it's not hooked up to the rod or ignition switch. Yeah, there's a couple things you have to consider when you're working on a car that's old. Well, it's not that it's real old, it's just that it's not working, which makes it worth just about nothing. So the few things I have to consider are, what are the value of the car? You know, if I am to fix it, will it be worth my effort? And since I was able to find an engine or two for approximately $150, $200, figured, yeah, it'd be worth my time to fix. Second thing is, well, now that I've done this, where I can't actually use the ignition, how safe is the car? You know, is somebody going to be able to just walk up and steal it? And the answer for that one's, yeah, probably, but how likely is this kind of car to be stolen? You know, how many are there out there? And are there cars that are easier to get into, that kind of thing? How secure are the locks on the doors? And that's another problem. Since I lost the keys, I don't actually have the ability to lock and unlock the doors right now. So that's one thing I'm going to have to address. And I got to get keys from the locksmith. You know, what am I going to do? So that's just one thing I'm thinking about as I'm sitting here doing the relatively simple part of the reassembly. As long as everything works okay, I'll probably just continue as planned and put my fake choke ignition on over here. Just a quick word of caution, if you're going to disassemble the entire thing and take this housing off and like disconnect the blinker, be sure you put this pin back in before you bolt this back to everything else. Otherwise there's something in the way, so you cannot replace the pin. Okay, here it is all put back together. Beautiful. Ignition, blinker, and it works. Left, right, brights, dims, adjustments. See, makes the steering wheel move like it's supposed to. It locks in place. Hey, a little loose. I don't think that's such a big deal. It was pretty loose before I got it anyway. It turns, no lock, that's okay. Intentionally did that. Of course the ignition doesn't work, or turn for that matter, because it's an old tumbler. Oh, there we go. Hey, it turned. Nice. As you can see, nothing happened. That's okay. Shift it through all the gears. My original reason for pulling everything apart. So, now I guess I'll just plug this huge old harness back in and hook up the battery and see what happens. Okay, here we are under the hood. Brought several different sizes of sockets to see which one's the right size for the negative battery terminal. Appears to be either 5/16 or possibly an 8mm. I think I've got both. Closer to an 8mm, I think. Yeah, whatever. Anyway. Lovely Minnesota weather with the mosquitoes out today. Fantastic. If you're familiar with the inside of the Buick, you'll notice there are several things missing here. Let's see. Reservoir for washer fluid and the overflow for the coolant. Got that down in front here just temporarily. The old one that was in here had a leak in it. So that's that. Okay, we're back inside the vehicle. No lights yet. Let's check that. I'm turning the dial and oh, we have battery power. Nice. Alright, so let's try our new ignition system here. Well, let me set up the tripod again. Okay. See if I need to find that rod. Maybe just a screwdriver. Here's the rod. Alright. Here's the ignition piece. Stick that in. Oh, ding, ding. Hey, what do you know? It started. Wow. You can hear it missing on one cylinder with its terrible rod knot. Well, it's moving along the lawn, eh? Move my blockers first here. Alright, brake, reverse. Hey, hey! Yeah, baby, run! Wow! I'm so pleased. Go over to my neighbors and turn around. I think it's running on 4 cylinders because I actually swapped the ignition pack with my sister's car. Ooh, feels like the brakes are a little flat. Turn around and head back home. Probably low on the tires too. I haven't filled it since last winter. I am amazed. Guess I'll go pick up an engine sometime soon and get it going. Wow. Right up there.